Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards coming at you with another Commander Top 20. This time, we're talking 4-drops. Those 4 CMC, the 4 mana value cards that are just seen both heavily and pretty heavily. We'll get right into it. First, at number 20, we've got Mandrake Glory Dominus. This is 2 and 2 white for a 4/4 legendary creature for Phyrexian Horror. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. For 1, and Phyrexian white, Phyrexian right, sacrifice 2 other artifacts and or creatures, put an indestructible counter of Mandrake Glory Dominus. The Phyrexian white can be paid with either white or 2 life. So, tokens are popular. This doesn't matter if it's a creature token or not. This just doubles up the tokens. So any token deck is going to be running. Any token deck that has white will probably run Mondrak. Giving it an ability to make it indestructible isn't bad. As a commander, it's pretty fine too. As a token commander, it's one of the, I think it's the only one of the 2 token commanders that like to double, and the other one's only creatures. So there's like a 6-drop, but it triples. But this is a great card. Again, like, if you're playing against a white token deck, you're gonna see this. Doubling up the tokens is great. It's also a win con in a lot of decks where you can make tokens for a certain amount of mana, and then you can sacrifice them. So usually, like, you make 1 token, but this doubles it to 2, and then you can sacrifice the 2 to pay 4 to make 2 more tokens, and go infinite like that. So infinite ETBs, mind you, that's not a win con. You need a secondary way to win off of that, but it's not bad. You'll see it fairly recently, but again, only in token decks. That's the thing. The bottom 10, which would be like 11 through 20, you'll see a lot less like must run in every deck. Up next is Archmaze Emeritus at number 19. So this is 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2 creature human wizard with Magecraft. Whenever you cast into or copy an instant sorcery spell, draw a card. Again, this is perfectly ran in any deck that runs a lot of instant sorceries. If you're not running a lot, you don't put this card in the deck, okay? But if you're running, like, I'd say like at least 20, it's probably worth putting in there. Especially if you're like a spell slinging deck or a storm deck. This just helps you keep drawing cards off them. Archmaze Emeritus turns any cantrip into like a double up, which is really useful, honestly. Great card for any deck that has a high percentage of instants and sorceries. Up next at 18 is Domination. This is 2 generic and 2 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Again, this is the great board wipe. This is a classic board wipe representation. My cat's being weird right now. And yeah, it's like kind of the big thing here is it's just a simple way to board wipe. There's not a lot of things to worry about it. There's nothing fancy. It's 4 mana, clear the field of creatures. Such a great number 18, honestly. And this should show you the power of cards we're about to get into. At number 17, Anointed Procession. This is an enchantment version of that god we just talked about. 3 and 2 white, or 3 and 1 white for an enchantment. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. So instead of making, like, if you were to make 1, you'd make 2. If you were going to make 6, you allow us to make 12. Again, if you're on a token deck, this is here. Okay? And a lot of decks make tokens. Even incidentally, it can be useful. Like treasure decks, clue decks, food decks, incubator decks, creature token decks, the bunch of them. A lot of tribal decks make tokens. If you watch my other series where I talk about the best commanders and why they're, or the most popular commanders and why they're as popular as they are, you would notice that they a lot of them make tokens. Like Edgar Markov makes tokens. Edgar Markov makes tokens, and Krenko both make tokens. Now, Krenko can't run this, but Edgar Markov can. But yeah, like there's a lot of commanders that just happen to make you tokens, and this is going to double this up. So at 16, we got Pitless Plunderer. This is 3 in a blue, 3 in a black for 1/4 creature, human, pirate. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. This is not only a really good card, it's also a win con. So there's a lot of aristocrat style decks that again need mana to keep the aristocrats going, and this is going to make you a treasure each time that you can then use. The treasure doesn't come in tapped like some effects do nowadays, and it doesn't care if it's a token that's being sacrificed. So you can sacrifice the tokens and still get like treasures off of that and just keep going. And sometimes the fact that it's a treasure is helpful because it's an artifact that'll trigger off of it. So there's a lot of ways to win off Pitless Plunderer, usually like a 3 or 4 card combo. That's kind of like the point here. So, where'd you get her? Oh, there she is. She was making noise, and I was wondering where she was doing. But that's the concept. Pitless Plunderer both accidentally gets you good stuff, just because, oh yeah, my tokens died. Or my creature died. I'm going to get a treasure at least. It also helps you with combos. At 15, we got Guardian Project, 3 in a blue, 3 in a green for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. This is basically just draw a card, whatever creature, a non-token creature ETBs. There's the few cards that you can run as many. Don't put this card in that deck, obviously, but it just draws your cards as an enchantment. It's hard to remove because enchantments are hard to remove in a lot of decks. And it just draws you cards in green. It's one of the reasons green is such a powerful powerhouse in casual, because like 4 mana cards like this that just draw you card every time you play a creature. Well, you can just play a creature and then draw into a creature and then play that creature. And if you're running a lot of mana dorks, that's just going to give you a lot of ramp. So very useful, very good way to just kind of snowball out of control. Up next at number 14, we got Panharmonicon. 4 generic for an artifact. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers in addition to time. So they recently, I think like last year, changed the terminology from enter the battlefield to just enter, which I think is great. It really it gets the point across anyway. We know that it's entering the battlefield, like you don't have to specify that. But then on top of that, it really gives you more space to do more stuff on the cards, which is what they were aiming for. So Panharmonicon here is just going to double those triggers. So this thing does a few things. Number one, it can be used heavily in like combo decks to just double up the ETB triggers, which could have you just go infinite in some cases. Think Feldor Guardian, your commander having an ETB that could win you the game. And Panharmonicon, because that means Fellow Guardian can exile itself and the commander, and then you just go infinite. So 3-card combo, or 2-card because you're touching your commander. Panharmonicon, though, is also just generically decent in any low CMC commander that has an ETB, like an enter effect. You just like, yeah, cast it, get the ETB, right? Not bad at all, very useful. It's overall, there's a lot of enter effects, and here's the thing, enter effects are good because they are instant gratification, and Magic is heavily pushed for instant gratification. Cards that don't do anything right away aren't as good as cards that do stuff right away. And Panharmonicon allows you to do stuff right away twice. So that's just, weirdly enough, itself doesn't do anything right away. But it is a great setup and a great way to just start getting a lot of triggers off here. Up next at number, I think this is 13. Harmonize, 2 and 2 green for a sorcerer, draw 3 cards. Now, some people are starting to hate this card. They're like, there's a better way to draw cards. I don't really need to do this. It just really gives you 2 cards because, I mean, it digs you 3 deep, but you have to get rid of the Harmonize, and it's 4 mana. Here's my thing. In lower colored decks, I think it's fine. I think it's useful. Like in a mono green deck, just having this card, like, okay, this versus the previous green card. Both of the same mana cost. This one only draws you 3, the other one can draw you a lot, but this just draws you the 3 without any issues. I think spell slingy decks that trigger off sorceries can good. If you're doubling this, that's great. Ones where you want to draw cards to trigger effects is great. But I think just generically, this is a fine card, okay? If you're like, what do I add to my green deck right now, and you're looking for a card to add, Harmonize is not going to hurt. You're not going to go, why did I add Harmonize? You're going to go, oh, yeah, I can draw 3 more cards. That's going to be useful. And it'll help you dig. So I think this is better than people give it credit for. That being said, I do see where they're coming from. 4 to draw 3 seems a little steep, but like, I don't know, is 4 to draw 3 better than 2 to draw 3 discard 2? Right? Like, at least you keep your cards here. At number 12, we got Sky Shroud Claim. This is 3 and 2 green for a sorcery. 3 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 forest cards. Put them on the battlefield, then shuffle. So this doesn't make them come untapped. So technically, it allows you to play a 2-drop afterwards, like Regrowth or Farseek or something. Which will then get you more, so you can ramp even further with Sky Shroud, or you can put like your Amulet on the field or something. Very useful. My cat's being very cute right now. Good cute. But she's not jumping up here, which is weird. Normally she does. But yeah, so that's Sky Shroud Claim is great. Again, this is another one very similar to Harmonize, where people are like, do you really need to run it? And I'm like, guys, at 4 to go up 2 and still have a 2-drop you can play, or 2 1-drops you can play with Sky Shroud, like, you can set that up in your hand. You can go, oh, I've got Sky Shroud, and I've got 2 Monodorks. Let's play other stuff around this, if I can, and then play Sky Shroud, and then get the 2 Monodorks out on the field. Very useful, very helpful. I think Sky Shroud Claim is great in any deck. If you're, so it's great in mono green. And if you're running dual lands or any of those dual land types in other decks, this can be more helpful because it grabs those and fixes your mana. Up next at, I think this is 12, was this 13? Okay, let me find out. Okay, now at number 11, we got Stormkiln Artist. 3 and a red for a 2/2. Creature, Dwarf Shaman. This creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, create a treasure. So this card is great in Magecraft decks. Any spell slinging deck, you're going to make more treasures. Treasures going to allow you to keep going. And you can go pretty deep in a Storm deck with this. Hence the name Stormkiln Artist. Any of those, like, is it Storm decks where you're like, cast a cantrip, cast a cantrip, cast a cantrip, cast a cantrip. This is going to give you the treasures to keep casting those 1-drop instant sorceries. And once we get even more of those, which we will continue to get more of them probably, you'll be able to see like Stormkiln Artist go even higher up on this list, because it is like a needed effect for a Storm deck. Okay. The thing is this also can gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So you can also just put this in an artifact deck and just go like, I got 20 artifacts. This is a 22/2. Let me go hit someone. Very useful. And like, yeah, if you're just digging, you can keep the treasures and just go, I'm going to swing at someone with Stormkiln. So there is a chance that Stormkiln Artist could just accidentally take someone out, which is useful. You're mainly running it for the Magecraft, but that top effect, don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. Look at what his power is. Go to see if someone's open and go, oh, yeah, I could take someone out. Don't forget that. He's very strong. I think it's a great card. And it'll continue to see play at number 11, if not go up from here. I could see people starting to play this more often. Now we're getting the top 10. Number 10 is Akroma's Will. Akroma's Will is 3 and a white for an instant. Choose one. If you control commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike till end of turn. And or creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors till end of turn. So on the bottom end of this card, right, you're looking at a way to either protect your creatures or go for game. At the top end, you're looking at a way to just either wipe out an opponent who's doing something, who's swinging at you, or get in with protection, okay? So if you got your commander out, this is a great way to just win with a commander, right? Giving them flying means they can go in and they have evasion. Vigilance means they can still protect you next turn. And double strike is the win con here, right? So if you've got like, if you're like, oh, how do I win here? Like if you're noticing that your deck can get close to winning but can't really finish it, Akroma's Will might be for you, okay? Swing out with stuff, cast Akroma's Will while your commander's out in the field, and now all of a sudden they can't be blocked as easily. Well, actually, you want to do this before you swing out, unfortunately, because of the vigilance, right? So yeah, you want to do this before you swing out so that they gain vigilance. Otherwise, what's the point? So you do this before you swing out, but then you swing out and you're like, cool, now they're all flying, they're double strike. And so if you're like, yeah, I only had like if everyone's at like 30 life and you only had like 40 damage, this is going to give you that 80 damage to take out 2 of your opponents. If you had that like 45 damage, you're like, cool, I can take out like 1 guy, but that's going to let you take out the rest. Plus giving them protection from all colors means that that's even harder for them to block flying, and you can't stop them, and they're indestructible, and they gain lifelink, so all of a sudden that double strike is going to gain you a lot of life. So like, even if you're just like, okay, what do I do here? Akroma's Will can be used so many different times. Okay, you can use this if your commander is at 11, right? This is going to let your commander take someone out. And then you can swing the rest of the other 2 for a game. Like, Akroma's really, it just gives you that option to win the game sooner. Okay? It's a I win the game card, or no, I don't lose the game. Someone goes for a board wipe, Akroma's Will. Everyone else is out of the game. It's now your turn. You're not going to take people out, but you're going to be easier to attack them now. So yeah, it can be offensive, it can be defense. There's a lot going on with this card. Even without your commander on the field, it does a lot. So yeah, I mean, I guess worst case scenario, you could just pay 4 to protect your commander if you really needed it on the field. So lots of stuff you can do with it. A lot of trickery. But you never stop board wipes. Great. Would not stop the board wipe. See, countering a board wipe is fine, right? Okay, cool. Destroy all creatures. I get it. I want to keep my field. Akroma's willing a board wipe so that your creature is just indestructible and everyone else loses their creatures, but you keep yours is better. Doesn't stop mass exile, but you know, you could try. But yeah, great win con and white. There's a reason it's number 10. I could see it going up if stompy white decks get more popular. Number 9 is Big Score. Okay, I love that Big Score is so high, guys. I think this is a fantastic card that more people should run. 3 in a red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this card, discard a card, draw 2 cards, create 2 treasure tokens. Okay, so this is 4 mana, and you're going to discard a card, and so that's 2 cards, and you're going to draw 2 cards. You don't gain any cards, but you do gain 2 treasures.
If you're discarding a card, I need a bit more.
That was Google. So it also gives you 2 treasures, untapped. So this is relatively just 2 mana, but you can't play it till like turn 4, okay? But yeah, any deck that wants tokens, any deck that wants treasures, this is helpful. Getting more card advantage is useful. Discard the card that you're not going to use and head towards like this awesome dream. And I think this is ran a lot in like decks that just need that card draw. If you can duplicate it, it's great. But there's a lot to the Big Score, and I think it's a really strong 4-drop card that I don't, again, like Harmonites, I don't think you're going to be sad with this card. I think every time you see this as a 4-drop, you're going to be like, okay, cool, let's play the Big Score, discard this like 6-drop that I don't need, or this 1-drop that's not doing anything, or this extra land. Let's draw 2 more cards and get 2 treasures and see where I can go from there. At number 8 is Thran Dynamo. 4 generic for an artifact, tap, add 4 colors. This is another card that's been getting a lot of hate lately, okay? 4 for 3. A lot of people say, I'd rather just be playing a card that helps me advance my board state. This goes, well, actually, isn't more mana helpful? Look, the thing about Thran Dynamo is I don't know a lot of people who are going to pop it. Like, I guess if you have incidental artifact removal in your deck and you're like, that's going to get you 3 mana, let's remove that, right? Sure. But this is ran in every colorless deck. This is ran in any commander that has 3 generic mana in it and costs more than 4. The Thran Dynamo should be in there, okay? If it costs 5 to cast and it's like 3 generic and 2 blue, you toss Thran Dynamo in there. That'll help you cast it. Even if it doesn't cost that much, Thran Dynamo pays for your mana, for your commander tax 1.5 times. And it helps you get more stuff out. Now, I guess if you're in like a 3 or higher color ceiling, you're not touching Thran Dynamo. Unless your commander is like really expensive, like 6, and you're looking at like 6 or 7, and it's like there's like 3 or 4 generic mana in it, then okay, maybe Thran Dynamo could be useful. Or in an artifact deck where you're running a heavily colorless, then that could be useful too. But here's my thing. Thran Dynamo is 8 for a reason. Right? That's 8? Yeah. Thran Dynamo is 8 for a reason. It's strong. Again, every time you play this, you play Thran Dynamo, and then you have 4 colorless. Or sorry, 3 colorless more to play with, okay? So this is generally 1 mana out of all the stuff. Now, in a colorless deck, you can use that right away. In a color deck, you might be like, well, maybe I can't do this. But there's the thing. Don't play Thran Dynamo like that. You're casting it at the wrong time. A lot of this is talking about when should you cast something. Do you cast it as soon as you can or not? Look, Thran Dynamo is fine. If you pay 4 and cast it on your turn 4, you got nothing better to do and you pass the turn. Okay? But on turn 5, in a 1-color deck, where you can play Thran Dynamo and you have that 1 blue left or that 1 green left, and you go pay 3 and a green, cast this 4-drop. Then you just jumped ahead to from turn 5 to turn 8. That's fantastic. Thanks for making me do a turn 8 play. It's not bad. People need to play the card at the right time. Okay, it's the same thing with Big Score. Don't just drop this on turn 4. If you don't have a card you want to get rid of, don't play Big Score. Wait till you have a card. Oh crap, there's a second land. I can play a land. I don't need this land right now. I'm too much mana. Let's get rid of it, right? Chroma's Will, there's not really a bad time to play that, to be fair, if you're any good at Magic. But Thran Dynamo, yeah, play it not on turn 4. I mean, again, unless you've got nothing else to do turn 4. Play something. Don't not spend your mana, okay? But if you have something else to play it and wait till you can play this turn 5, turn 6, so that you can do stuff with that 3 mana. Next up, at number 7, is Mirkwood Bats. I love that this card is already this high up. 3 and a black for a 2/3 creature bat. With flying, and whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. Okay, this is nothing but a token card. So why is it so high up? Why is this number 7? Okay, you've seen the doublers. Mirkwood Bats wins you the game. Incidentally wins you the game. Mirkwood Bats goes, oh, I made 10 tokens. Cool, each of my opponents lose 10 life. Mirkwood Bats goes, can I win right now? If I make 10 tokens, they all lose 10 life, and I have the token doubler, which means they'll lose 20 life because I make 20 tokens. Or if I, yeah, you know, you've been pinging everyone, you've been swinging with these, like, even like they're 4/4 angels, right? Mirkwood Bats gives you that little push, like, okay, I took 1 guy out, the other guys are at like 15 life, can I win? I can make 5 tokens, or 6 tokens with the doubling, and then I can sacrifice those 6 tokens, and Mirkwood Bat would deal 6 damage to each of them. That's 12, but they're both at 15, so I can't necessarily take them out right now. So we want to hold off on doing that unless you can find it makes you find a puzzle. It puzzles your deck together to just give you, okay, I got this. And then the cool thing is it also insulates you from a board wipe. If you've got 20 tokens out and they go, yeah, I'm just going to board wipe, they go kill the bat first. If you don't kill the bat first, we're all going to lose 20 life, and I can't afford to lose 20 life. How many decks can you just all of a sudden make 20 treasure tokens or food or create or sacrifice a token? You're a treasure deck, Mirkwood Bat's sitting there because you're just going to accidentally make treasures, and Mirkwood Bat's going to go like, oh, each opponent loses life, each opponent loses life. You sack them, each opponent loses life. Oh look, they all of a sudden are at like 10 life each, and you just swing in for game. It's an insane card. It's such a good card. I love everything about it. It's probably one of my favorite cards to come out in recent memory. Because I love it. It just really helps amp up token decks. Of any variety. See, here's the other thing. Before, you were running creature token decks to ping people to death and to sacrifice because you ran aristocrats, right? Whenever a creature dies, deal a damage or deal 1 damage to each opponent, or each opponent loses a life. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, they all lose life. This this is like that concept altogether of like just it doesn't have to be a creature deck. It just has a creature token deck. It just be a token deck to win. Okay, number 6 is Beast Whisperer. This is great. 2 and 2 green for a 2/3 creature elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Now, why is this better than the enchantment? Because this is elf-cast. You don't have to worry about the ETB. Okay? Now, the ETB is better if you flicker. In a blink deck that's better, Beast Whisperer doesn't work there. But, even if someone goes and kills your Beast Whisperer, you still drew a card. But this is great. Not only is it an elf, so it's an elf dex, it's a druid, so it's in druid decks. It's a creature, so it triggers other creature draw effects in green. There's also just draws you cards, and so many cards. Cast a creature, draw a card. Cast a creature, draw a card. Go, go, go. It's just going to allow you to flood the field in green decks, so you can just go wide and win the game. It's simple. Like, there's not a... This is the card that... Okay, here's it. So this is the card that, like, yeah, if you drop turn 4, the next turn is going to be good. You're going to be like, yeah, okay, I've got a Mana Dork, I got another, I'm going to draw, I got another Mana Dork, I'm going to draw, and you're just going to go off. Or it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. So, like, maybe play it when you know you're going to be able to use it. But, again, if you have nothing else to play, play it. Otherwise, wait till you have some creatures to go off with it. Then, like, if you can play this on turn 6 and then play 2 1-drops, not bad. So, number 5, we're getting to the top 5. Deadly Rollick. This is a free card, so that's why it's up here. 3 and a black for an instant. If you control your commander, you may cast a spell without paying mana cost. Exile target creature. It's ran in a lot of black CDH decks, which is why it gets that push from the CDH decks that run it to make it up to number 5. But also, it's one of those free cards that's okay to run for most people. Because, like, all you're doing is exiling a creature for free. That's not too much. I still don't like free cards casually. But high power CDH, go for it. It's fun. And it's a good card. If your play group is fine with free spells, it's not a bad idea. It's just, I mean, yeah, like a free way to just remove a problematic card is always going to be useful, okay? Especially if you always have your commander out. I wouldn't run this if your commander's like a high CMC. Or your commander's only in there to win you your game. Or your commander's like Edgar Markov. Like, you don't put that... Or like the Ur-Dragon, right? Neither of those, like Emissary, they stay there. They're not in the field. So you're not going to get this for free. But if it's like 3-4 draw commander, yeah, put it in the deck if you're okay with free spells. Again, I'm not in casual, so I just... Not that... I don't care if you run it. I don't build my decks with free spells casually. So... But Deadly Rollick is fantastic. There's a reason at number 5. It's just a free removal spell. And it's exile, so you don't care if they're indestructible. Woo! Much newer card again. Lost Caverns of Ixalan. And this is Roaming Throne. So this... Roaming Throne is 4 generic for a 4/4 artifact creature golem with Ward 2. As Roaming Throne enters battlefield, choose a creature type. Roaming Throne is the chosen type in addition to other types. And if a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. Now, you read this card first and your thought process is, oh, it's good for tribal decks. And yes, it's amazing in tribal decks. Like, it's top tier tribal. If you're in tribal, you're running this card. That's not the point of this card. Not commander. So you have this thing called your commander in EDH, right? Your commander, that card that you always have access to. And it has a creature type, okay? 9 out of 10 times, 9,999 out of 10,000 times, it has a creature type, okay? Here's the thing. Roaming Throne can just choose their creature type. So if it has a triggered ability, it just duplicates its triggered ability. It just duplicates the trigger ability. So if your commander has a triggered ability, Roaming Throne's in your deck. For 4, just to double up the trigger, it doesn't matter what the trigger is. As long as it's good, you're running it. Okay? Flicker decks. Cool. Roaming Throne doubles up the ETB. Each upkeep effects on your commander. Boom. Roaming Throne does it twice. At the beginning of combat, twice. Whenever effects, twice. Roaming Throne is here at number 3 or at number 4 because it's if your commander has a triggered ability, you put Roaming Throne in there. There's no point in not doing it, honestly. Magecraft triggers twice. Whenever it attacks, triggers twice. Combat damage, triggers twice. It does so much for your deck. And then, even if your commander doesn't have a trigger ability, if you're in a tribal, and your tribe has trigger ability, yeah, Roaming Throne's there. So, Roaming Throne is such a good card. And again, yeah, if you have a triggered ability, Roaming Throne's there. In Tymna decks, Roaming Throne, name Cleric or Human, because you're going to run more humans probably. Boom, now your Tymna triggers twice and you get to draw more cards. And here's the other big thing. Roaming Throne has Ward 2, which is great. Let's get up to number 3. The One Ring. Who would have thought? The card banned in Modern. The One Ring. It's on the GC list, so be careful. The One Ring is 4 generic for a legendary artifact. It's indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Tap, put a burden counter on the One Ring. Then, draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. So, the One Ring is just like insane draw for any deck. Now, burden counter or game changer list, be damned. I love the One Ring because it's just good draw for bad decks. Okay? If you're playing that like 3-tier spot and you're like, what? Like, oh, I'm allowed to run like around 3 game changers. Put the One Ring in. Put the One Ring in. Proxy it, put it in. Proxy it, put it in. Put it in, put it in. Please don't pay for this card. It's way too expensive. Proxy it, put it in. Okay? Why? Simple. It will up your deck to be able to draw more cards. The incidental protection from everything is great. It's hard to remove because of indestructible, so you have to find a way to exile it to remove it. The life loss doesn't matter in Commander. You're at 4. Okay? This is just going to give you a lot of card draw really fast, and if you have ways to untap it, that's really good. And you just end up boom, 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 boom. Every turn, boom, draw cards. Draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doubling, adding 1 more each time. Just drawing so many cards. It's gonna win you the game. It's probably the best card in Commander at 4. It's number 3, so there's 2 above it that are ran more. But the One Ring isn't ran as much because it's expensive and because some people don't think it should be used. I think it's great if you're in 3 or higher. It's like a must play. Again, if you're like, well, I need a game changer to put in my deck so that I can up it to play against my friends, the One Ring is that game changer. Trust me. Let's get to number 2. Number 2 is Smothering Tithe. Smothering Tithe is another game changer. Who would have thought? And another one that if you're in white, just put in your deck if you're going 3 or higher. Okay. Smothering Tithe is 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2 generic. If the player doesn't, you create a treasure token. This is just a lot of treasure for a lot of draw. And if you've got wheels in your deck, here's my kitty tax. Kitty tax. Yeah. If, put her on me so I can pet her here. Yeah. If they don't, you get treasure. And if they do, they're slowing them down. So this slows them down or this gives you treasure. It's a great card. It's fantastic. It's just another, put this in your deck if you're looking for a game changer that just really helps you. I think the One Ring is better. The One Ring can win you the game. See, if you have an infinite untap in your deck, you can draw and win the game with the One Ring because the burden counters only hurt you upkeep. So that doesn't matter. And it's still harder to remove. But Smothering Tithe is really good and is ran in a lot of decks and is disliked less than the One Ring. So the One Ring is hated because it's just no one got a hold of it. A lot of people got a hold of Smothering Tithe because it was, I think, originally standard legal. I'm gonna double check that. Yeah, it was originally standard legal. So people have it. People have it sitting around. There's more copies running around. It's been reprinted a lot more than the One Ring. So yeah, it's a game changer, and it's up there as one of those ones that I'm like, put it in your deck if you're looking for a game changer that actually changes the game. It isn't just like a tutor. So, or a free counter spell, right? I understand why those are game changers, but Smothering Tithe and the One Ring are just another level game changer. And at number 1, who's surprised? No one should be. It's Sad Robot. Solemn Simulacrum. And if you're wondering why it's Sad Robot, there's the original one. That's your Sad Robot. I think that's the original. There we go, yeah. Because he always looked sad. You know, even like, they kept the head tilting down to make him kind of look sad in a lot of these. I love that art too. This one is a funny Sad Robot. That's a cool art. Lots of good arts for Sad Robot. But 4 generic for a 2/2 artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. And when this creature dies, you may draw a card. So not only does it replace itself, it has and have an ETB. That ETB ramps you. And it's colorless ramp. Any deck can run it. You put it on the field. It can block. You can swing with it. If they choose to block it, you replace the draw. If you're running any ETB deck, this card's even better because you're just going to keep flickering it and bouncing it to get more ETBs off it, to get more lands. I've myself flickered Solemn Simulacrum 6, 7, 8 times just to make sure I have enough lands to win the game. If you're like Commander's the one flickering them and stuff, it's so good in so many ways. And there's a reason it's there. It's just like, oh, I need a way to ramp, and I want a land, because land's going to fix my mana, and I don't have to worry about losing it. Sad Robot's there for you. Let Sad Robot be sad for you, and you can be happy for yourself by running it. This is another card that a lot of people think has just lost its taste, lost its touch. It's just not that good. Oh, you should only run this if you're running a flicker deck. Like, if your commander can flicker it, then it's good. But other than that, it's not great. Or like a recursion deck where you can keep getting it back so that when it dies, you keep drawing cards. Who needs the body anymore? There's just too many good ramp spells. Why do you need to run this? It's useful. Blocking a creature isn't bad. Being able to swing with it isn't bad. It's an artifact. It's a creature. It's a golem, which can be useful in golem decks. It's generically 4 mana, so you don't have to worry about a lot of the stuff, like the effects on it. Or the cost. Like, it's just 4 generic mana. So even in high expensive decks, like 5-color decks, you're like, well, okay, I need to make sure I can get the right colors I need. Solemn Simulacrum's there for you. Sad Robot's like, yeah, I'm there for you, dude. Doesn't matter what colors you have. You don't need green with Solemn Simulacrum to ramp you in a 5-color deck. You just need 4 mana. It can even be ran in a colorless deck to go grab you a waste. So, yeah, this card can just be played. Like, Tithes has to be in white, okay? The One Ring is hated because it's got too much, like, it does too much, right? Roaming Thrones, although really good if you're if you're not in a tribal deck and your commander doesn't have a trigger ability, it doesn't matter. Deadly Rollick is a free removal spell. That it's only going to remove 1 card. Beast Whisper only draws you stuff. Mercward Backs, although wins you stuff, it has to be token based. Thran Dynamo has its problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but as a 4-drop, it does a lot for you and fits in a lot of decks. If you're ever looking for a good 4-drop, try Solemn Simulacrum. Give the Sad Robot a try. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Stay tuned for the next video where I go over 5-drop cards. Peace.